All right, Nate Joma here with Leonor Kryla with REM Real Estate, and today we are going to talk to her about real estate school, and why you should look into that as an option for you. Hey, Leonor, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, Nate, thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, for sure. So I know that you are excited to talk to us today about your real estate school. So let's dive right. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Always prepare for the unexpected.
Yes, we'll probably edit that out. So I know that you are excited to talk to us about your real estate school. So let's dive right into it.
Okay, so we're getting prepared to open up a real estate school, launch School of Real Estate here in Palm Bay. Right now, we would be in Brevard County. It would be the only school down south this far. All the other schools are up in Melbourne, from like Sarno up north. There's a lot of opportunity here in Palm Bay because we have a lot of realtors here in Palm Bay. So it'll give the option of online on-demand training, online streaming training, and in-person training, which is, of course, my favorite part. I love to train and educate. That's actually how we met, right? So I'm excited to be able to do in-person classes. So we'll have a school with an actual classroom and paper books for people who like that type of environment, to make sure that everyone's educated and licensed.
Nice. So you have the option then to be in seat or do it online. Did I understand that?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. And is this going to be just for newly licensed agents, or is this also going to be for agents that want refreshers, maybe continuing education?
I'm so glad you asked that question. It's going to be a combination of things. So I am a Florida state licensed instructor. So yes, there will be pre-licensing. There's another instructor who's going to be pre-licensing for agents. But we are actually going to start off between now and the end of the year doing continuing education classes. We will be then rolling out post-licensing, broker pre-licensing, and broker post-licensing. So those are just the licensing portions. Then we'll also do professional development and some of the other classes that right now some agents from Brevard County travel over to Orlando to take classes, and we have people who fly out to conventions, et cetera. What we're hoping to do is bring it in-house.
That's awesome. So I think you had also mentioned that you're going to be able to do the broker course as well. So that's a big deal for a lot of local real estate agents that want to become a broker associate, or maybe open up their own real estate office. What's one of the advantages for a real estate agent to become a broker associate?
I think that being a broker associate, in my opinion, gives a lot of options. And my previous broker would tell me this all the time. As soon as you hit that mark where you qualify to be a broker, go ahead and go get your broker's license, because why not? It gives you more options. It doesn't mean you necessarily want to open your own brokerage and handle all the behind the scenes things, but it does give you options for when you want to make a move. You're not reliant on someone else to have to sponsor you in a sense, or be over you. You can do your own thing.
So one of the advantages of having that broker license and working under somebody else's brokerage, if you will, is that you're able to make some decisions without having to get sign off from a broker. Is that right?
Depends on the brokerage, but you do have an extended wealth of knowledge. So you're equipped to make certain decisions that, you probably wouldn't be able to as a sales associate.
That's awesome. So everybody that gets to a point where they are eligible to go through that coursework and obtain that license really should, in your opinion?
In my opinion, yes. And that point is 2 years. Once you've been in the business for 2 years and you've been under another broker for 2 years, then you are eligible to go ahead and take that class and sit for the test.
That's awesome. So do you have a strategy for being able to help those individuals that maybe already have met that 2-year threshold understand the advantages of becoming a broker? I guess, let me rephrase it a different way. Do you have a go-to market approach for getting some of them up to speed on why it's an advantage to them?
So I have learned that here in Brevard County, a lot of what we do is what they call nose to nose and toes to toes. So it's really going to be one-on-one conversations. Is there a marketing plan? Sure. Will there be some social media posts? Absolutely. I mean, it would be silly not to have that.
Right.
But I think that the value is going to come in one-on-one conversations. So I'm going to really ramp up on going to networking events and talking to people and asking them if they plan on staying in for the long game, and explaining what those benefits might be, or maybe not at the networking event. Maybe we'll just, make an appointment and have some coffee or something and talk about it in the future, so that I can really address individuals to the needs and their goals. It's not just a blanket statement like, this is what everybody should do.
Right. Well, that's really awesome. I'm excited to hear more about that when you get that started. When it comes to newly licensed agents, the pre-licensing course and so forth, why would you recommend that someone get into real estate? I guess talk through the advantages of becoming a real estate agent versus working a 9 to 5 where you and I met, where we worked, in a building 9 to 5 and we had very regimented schedules. Talk to me about real estate and the advantages of getting a real estate license and some of the things that affords you, but then also some of the things that somebody should consider before they get into doing real estate.
Absolutely. So HGTV has done us a service and a disservice, right? Because it makes it look super glamorous, and sometimes it misrepresents what it really is. I know that I got into real estate because I did want to pursue something that was wealth building, because the foundation of all wealth is real estate. So that was really interesting to me. I wanted to dive in and I wanted to learn everything about it. I actually got into the business by accident. Somebody called me and asked me to help them open their real estate business, and I had no real estate knowledge. So I had to learn a lot to get to that point. So for everybody, it's a different road. But some of the reasons why somebody would want to get into real estate is for the entrepreneurship. So being able to open and run your own business, it's got probably the lowest monetary entry amount of any business that you start. So like if you wanted to open a McDonald's, for example, you'd need like hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into that. But in order to get into real estate, it's chopped up, and you just start off with paying a few $100s for your class, and then you have your dues, which is another few $100s, and then incrementally you pay that money, but it's not a lot of money, and you don't have a lot of overhead or anything like that. So it's a good way for somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur to start their own business. It's a good way for people who want to start creating wealth and really learning about it for themselves and to help their friends and family. And it just, for me also, it was a strategy thing. I really enjoyed the business aspect of it, the negotiation part. Like some of that kind of gets exciting, right? When you're just trying to put something together, there's some creativity involved in that. And then in the long run, there's a lot of flexibility. So flexibility of schedule where you can pretty much manage your own calendar and be in the office when you want and not be in the office when you don't want to be in the office. So those are some benefits. And also you can make a lot of money. You can make as much or as little money as you want.
For sure.
And so it's actually kind of funny, because when I was interviewing agents, because I recruit a little bit as well, when I'm interviewing agents and I say, how much money do you want to make? Most of those who are in the 9 to 5 are kind of shy about it, because that's what they teach you. Don't go in there and say you want to make this amount of money. Tell people you just want to learn. So people get shy. And I'm like, no, I need to hear you say you want to make $1 million. Like that's really what I'm looking for, because that can show a little bit of hunger in an agent.
Sure.
So the monetary, the value, the flexibility, and then just the job itself. Some false interpretations of what this business is that when you walk in, you're going to have a flexible schedule. That's not true. When you get in there, you have to dive in and be knee deep in real estate to learn everything that you have to learn, because you have to learn sales, and you have to learn marketing, and you have to learn where to find business, and you have to learn about houses, and you have to learn about housing repairs, and you have to learn about title, and you have to learn about lending, and there are so many things that you have to learn. When you first get your license, it's like drinking from a fire hose. It's overwhelming. And so you have to put in the time to learn all of that. And that's not going to give you a lot of flexibility at first.
For sure. I mean, I think a lot of us, you brought it up, watching HGTV shows or those shows on Bravo where, they're selling $1 million houses and things like that. That's the glamorous side of real estate. I think a lot of people don't understand that the real estate industry, while it's a great industry to be in, and you do have flexibility and endless earning potential, there is a huge learning curve, regardless of what you did in your past, to be able to get up to speed, speak intelligently, and be successful. There's so many moving parts and so many moving pieces, and most people have never navigated those waters before. So working with somebody that's knowledgeable, that's willing to invest the time to make sure that you lead on your best foot, like Leonor, is what you really want to do. What's the difference between your approach to the new hire or the pre-licensing course compared to some of the others that are out there? I know that there's probably a certain structure that you have to follow, but then with what you're doing, you're adding additional layers. You have an added value to it. As somebody that wants to get into real estate, why would I want to work with your real estate school versus any of the other ones that are in Melbourne or anywhere else in the state?
So like you said, there is a book, there is a plan that you have to follow, that is the state regulated plan. And that's all fine and well. But in my background in learning and development, which I've been doing in corporate as well, adults don't really learn that way. You don't just open up a book and say, okay, read this sentence and that's that. So that experience that I had and my desire to really make it click in people's heads, telling the stories, giving the examples, putting some humor into it, those are big pieces that people don't realize have a lot of value to them. Those are actually pieces of why I would recommend, if somebody doesn't do well on an online course, to do an in-person course, because that human aspect makes a big difference to a lot of learners. It shouldn't be tedious. Learning should be fun. If you think about it as kids, how do kids learn? They learn by playing, they learn by having fun. And so adults are not very different. We're just taller kids, right? So I mean, we've got to have some pieces in there that make things stick. Little sayings or acronyms, or, oh my gosh, I remember that story that Leonor told about this house that, this and this and this happened, and she had this nightmare client, or she had this wonderful client. Those things help you remember when you're actually sitting in the test. You're sitting there reading the question and you're like, I remember that dog did X, Y, and Z, and then you have the answer on total recall. So to me, that's it. The human element is super important, and understanding that it's got to click for the learner.
For sure. So even though you have a structured, regimented coursework that you have to go through, the big difference maker is the person that you're learning from and what their learning styles are going to be and what their education styles are going to be, right? So correct. I know from working in the mortgage industry that when we have to do our continuing education, we have to go through the same continuing education year in and year out. And there's multiple places that we are able to do that. But I always opt for the one that's fun, because to your point, learning can and should be a fun thing. In our business, we're constantly learning. We learn new things every day, every week, every month. So you want to go to, and you're drawn to, the places where you're going to learn best. And your learning strategy, and having worked with you in the past, I know you just have a great way of delivering information and helping to absorb new information. So I think that's a huge step up for anybody that's looking to get into the real estate industry. Definitely speak with Leonor, because she can help you 100% get on the right foot from day one.
Thanks, Nate. I appreciate that. Experience does have a lot to do with it. Being in classrooms and in front of a classroom for over 25 years now, I can read a room. So I can see the face where the light bulb has not gone on. And now I make a mental note, this person, I need to follow up with them. I need to circle back. I need to make sure that they're understanding. There's a lot of unspoken, there's some body language involved there where you can see where a learner is either clicking or they're not clicking. And that has value in it as well, because one thing where we are different from kids is most adults will not just raise their hand and say, I don't get it. There's some ego involved there. So you're not going to get that. So I have to read it. Just yesterday, I had an agent who we told them, okay, you now have to go get your super key, et cetera. And And she says, yeah, I'll do that next week. And the person who was talking to her was a little bit confused because they were like, no, you need this now. And so I looked at her and I said, you get billed. You'll get billed at the next billable date. And she's like, oh, so I don't need money up front. But she wasn't going to say that out loud. Mm-hmm. So it's like you have to be able to pick up on these cues that experience has given me. It's not because I was just born knowing. I've been doing it for a little while. And so I could see it in her face that the money was a concern for her. Once I told her that the money was not an obstacle for her to get it done right away, she said, oh, and she went and she did it. So it works the same way in the classroom. When I'm watching somebody kind of go blank and I'm like, let me give an example a different way. Let me put it in a different format.
Sure. Yeah, and that's key. That thing that you just shared is an exact reason why it matters who you learn from, because as adults, you're right, we're very hesitant and shy to bring up certain things that are going to make us look bad, maybe unfavorable. But having somebody that's able to discern what the concerns are and being able to address those is the difference maker between working with real estate company trainer A and real estate company trainer B and Leonor. So there's advantages, obviously, to sitting in front of somebody. You're able to see their body language, you're able to see their face, understand what's going on with them, and it makes it a lot less of a challenge to be able to read what's going on. So for somebody that wants to get into real estate, we talked about it and touched on it a little bit. It's not your typical 9-to-5 job, absolutely, but for you to be successful, especially at the forefront when you're first getting into this business, you need to invest a lot of time in learning. And part of that learning is not just learning the rules and regulations to get the license, but really learning how to be successful as a real estate agent. And one of those things, as we touched on, is sales. So somebody that comes from other sales environments, they still have a bit of a learning curve on the sales side, because real estate sales is very different than selling cars or, selling home security systems or whatever you've done in the past. What would you say, in your opinion, or maybe in your expertise, is the best way for somebody to transition from another outside sales job into real estate? Like, what are some of the things, if somebody's looking to do that before they get into the licensing and just in the consideration phase, what types of things can they do to identify that real estate might be a good career move for them?
So this is a 100% relationship-based business. So you have to start off with your relationships. Even if you're not a licensed person, start talking to people who are licensed. Have one-on-one conversations to ask the question. So the number one thing that I would say for somebody coming from another industry is talk to someone who's in the industry and identify what transferable skills you have from your existing position that would be valuable to you based off of those conversations. Because we have people coming not just from sales industries. Teachers are really good in real estate. People with healthcare backgrounds are pretty good. Bartenders and servers are pretty good.
For sure.
So yeah, I mean, these are, and there's, I mean, I don't know that there's statistics. Again, I'm just basing it off of my experience and all the agents that have crossed my path. They do have a lot of transferable skills from these types of industries that they then use in real estate. So then that's something that they don't have to learn. They can focus on the things that they don't know. So really it's about you can talk to a recruiter as well. Just, be cognizant of the fact that they're probably trying to recruit you. Talk to agents who are not necessarily trying to recruit you. Talk to agents from different brokerages. We are blessed here in Brevard County that there are so many awesome brokerages. It's not about who's good and who's bad. It's about which one will match with you and
Sure.
your values, and what brokerage or broker will give you what you need to build the business that you want. I can't say this place is bad and this place is good. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing.
Sure.
I have been at 3 brokerages in Brevard County, all of them wonderful. All of them I've learned from. Can't say a bad word about them. You won't hear it from me because they've been great experiences. And so if we have that, then we might as well use it. Go out and talk to people from different places and figure that piece out.
Yeah, that's huge advice. I agree with you 100%. Just asking people that are actively doing and just taking some of the feedback from them and then digesting that and filtering it through your own means and asking questions. I think the biggest thing that anybody could do if they're interested in getting into real estate is just ask questions of those that are in the industry.
Yeah. Uh, Ask if you can shadow. Ask if you can do a ride along with them, especially on the weekends. It's kind of boring doing open houses by yourself sometimes, especially, you know, it's a hit or miss. Sometimes you get a lot of traffic, sometimes you don't. You know, somebody who's interested in it, see if you can shadow and have some conversations and just observe what's going on. Usually you can. So do it before you
Yes.
start making the investment.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So in your experience, there's not really an age barrier to getting into real estate. In your example, I mean, you and I worked together in a completely different environment, and we were both well into careers doing different things. And then we both ended up in the real estate industry. So somebody that's older, right? So somebody that's older, maybe, you know, in their 60s or 70s even, could potentially make this a retirement job if they want to do that. And when I say retirement, I don't mean, you know, do it passively, but when you are done with your corporate career, real estate's always an option for you because, as you said, it's very relational. You can talk to your neighbors, you can talk to anybody about real estate. And so that's what makes real estate such a fantastic career for somebody to consider, whether you're doing real estate sales or mortgage or just anything else that's in our industry. Have you found that a lot of real estate agents, or new real estate agents rather, have transitioned maybe later in life, or are most of them coming in their 20s, 30s?
So actually, I think we get a little bit of everything. So I have seen people who we've spoken to people in high school who still haven't even graduated high school looking to get in. Here in the Space Coast, we have people who have maybe done a career either in the military or in engineering, one of the big engineering companies, who are looking for this to be their retirement plan because those are, you know, positions that are very demanding. And maybe that's not something that they want to be doing for 40, 50, 100 years. So this is their exit strategy. I think that it's the best industry in the world because you really can be successful being who you are. I have seen jerks be successful. I've seen shy people be successful. There's all kinds. So back to your question, somebody who's maybe later in life, it's a great transition because there's a lot of experience there, relationally speaking, usually. They know how to pick up a phone. They know how to talk to people. They know how to engage. They have people who are in the prime of making changes in their living situations. They might be empty nesters now, or people that are moving into their forever home at this point, et cetera. So there's a lot of opportunity there. The one thing that I will say, and you and I had a little giggle about it this morning, is the technology piece, maybe for somebody who's, that would be me, the technology piece for somebody who's on the older end, who has not worked with technology for so long. Because I can just speak for myself. I had zero technology in school. Right. We finally started using computers my junior or senior year of college. So it's not the same as somebody who's getting out of high school right now who's been using a computer since they were a toddler, right? So it's not a barrier. It's just something that you might have to focus on. But just like maybe the older generations who are a little less tech savvy have more relational experience. Now you have the younger people who are more tech savvy and less relational. So it's pretty balanced. Anybody can do it. You just have to plug into the right home, professional home, for you to be able to flourish in with what you bring.
Sure. Speaking of technology, one of the things that I have found as I've progressed in my mortgage career is that fewer and fewer home buyers have an interest in doing the paper and pen and face-to-face thing. More and more want to do it online. They don't necessarily want to meet in person. Yeah. They don't want paperwork. They want things emailed to them. Yeah. So as a real estate agent, if I am somebody that isn't acclimated with the newer technologies and things, is there still a place for somebody with the paper and pen and face-to-face versus the completely virtual and all online and DocuSign and,
absolutely.
Does that exist?
Here in Florida, because we have an older population here in Florida. So there are going to be times where it's got to be paper and pen. I had to come in this weekend because I had somebody, I'm working with somebody who currently lives in Vero Beach, and he has no email. Or he has an AOL, which, hey, it's an email, but it's an AOL email. So, and somebody had a Hotmail, and same thing, like there were some issues or whatever. So anyway, he drove up on Saturday so that he could sign everything with pen and paper. So yes, there's still that. There's still plenty of opportunity for that. I think that being versatile, though, being able to do it both ways is really where it's going to work. And there are people who can teach you how to do that, which then kind of brings me into the next part. Getting licensed is all fine and well, but now you have to pick a brokerage, right? So again, aligning with your values, but also asking those direct questions. If you're not a technology person, when you're interviewing for brokerages, you need to ask that question: who is here to help me with technology? Because I'm not that great at it.
Sure.
And maybe if it's another skill that you need, asking that same question, because there are many brokerages who offer mentorship or coaching, et cetera. But what does that look like? Like, really break it down. Who are these coaches? Who are these mentors? What does that look like? Is it every day that I'm going to be seeing them? Are they going to go with me on appointments? Because everybody handles it a different way. And again, there's no right or wrong. I'm not going to say that anybody's doing it wrong, because that's not true. It's just different. So if you need more hand-holding, if you want more hand-holding, then you need to seek out those brokerages that will give you the hand-holding, that have actual mentors in place that will do what you need in order for you to be able to launch that career.
Sure. I love that you said that, because you're right. Everybody has a little bit of a different learning style, but then beyond the learning and getting the license, where you work, you also need to align that with the folks that are going to work with the way that you like to be worked with. Yes. Some people like to be very hands-on and like to have coaching and daily conversations and, check-ins, and other people prefer to be independent and only be checked in on when they need help with something. So there's a lot of variations in where you work, and working for larger companies or smaller boutique companies. So somebody that's getting into the real estate industry, after you get your license, the next hurdle is deciding where you want to hang your license, if you will. And part of that is asking questions of the brokers and the agents that work there, and understanding what their work experiences are. Do they have sales meetings? Do I want to go to sales meetings? Do they have coaching? Do I want to be in coaching? Like, there's just so many variables, and there's some place out there for everybody. Not one place is better or worse than the other in terms of that. It's your own individual needs and experience. What do you want? What do you need? And who's going to accommodate that?
The two most common questions that I would get during recruiting was, number one, do you have training? So the answer is yes, right? And then the question never went anywhere. Like, in my brain, I'm like, wait a minute, like, how often do you train? Do you train in person? Do you train online? Who are the trainers? What type of experience do they have? Like, those are all questions that should happen. How frequently is it? Do I get certifications for it? Do I get credit for it? Is there post-licensing credits involved? Like, all of those questions are super important. And then the second one was always, can't I just shadow an experienced agent? And again, that just shows that there's not a lot of knowledge as to how frequently people are running out and doing listing appointments and buyer appointments, et cetera. That's not necessarily an everyday activity. I mean, it is for some, which is wonderful, but it's not for everyone. So you may be sitting in the office for a week before you get to go shadow someone to be able to see what it is that they do. So then what are you doing for that week? I know I personally am a proponent of practice and rehearsal. Just like with athletics or performing arts, there's a whole lot of practice time that happens before showtime or before game time, right?
Sure.
So they may be playing or doing a performance for 2 hours or 4 hours, but how much time are they practicing before they get to that point? And that is something that very much applies in this industry. You should be practicing to get to that point of performance. You don't want to be practicing on clients.
Agreed. I love that you said that, because I am a huge proponent of role playing and figuring out your strengths, your weaknesses, and then working on accentuating your strengths, but then working on trying to lift up and level up your weaknesses.
Yeah.
There's some people that are really good on the fly. And there's other people that need to have that muscle memory and have the rehearsed, how do I go about this in order to really be successful?
And with all the things that we have going on, we need to rely on both. You need the muscle memory so that you don't mess up the basics, like the paperwork. You need that muscle memory in your paperwork, but you might be on the fly with your negotiation because you don't know what situation you're walking in.
Sure.
So you need both things. So you have to practice both things.
Right. And the only way that you can practice that in truth is to have those conversations with other agents in your office, with your broker, and not necessarily sitting down and doing a formal role play, but going through the motions and learning what you need to focus on and the things that you need to educate yourself more on and train more on and get more assistance with.
If you're having the conversations internalize themselves in you. So now you have the conversation with someone on the street, and you've already had the conversation in the office. You know, it comes out of you naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out of you naturally. So going back to, how brokerages handle that, you had mentioned before, like boutique brokerages versus the large box brokerages, et cetera, et cetera. There's just different approaches to it because there are some brokerages that are going to have dedicated people who are doing it. For example, here at Arium, I'm the director of agent development. So that's my job. I actually oversee mentors, and those mentors go one-on-one with agents. Mm-hmm. If there's a need for a mentor, then I will mentor as well. So there's that one-on-one coaching that allows people to have the practice, do the role play, have accountability, and have someone on call. And there are other brokerages in the area that do it as well. Those are dedicated people who are making sure that the agent is successful. And then there are other ones who are like, listen, I'm out in the field, come with me. And that works for some people as well. Again, no wrong answer. That works. And so if that's what's going to work for you, then that's the brokerage you should go with.
Sure. That's awesome. So we're at a 30-minute point. I want to try to keep this about 30 minutes. So in closing, let's talk about just one last thing. And that is, if somebody's interested in getting into a career in real estate, what is the best way for them to approach that? Should they start having the conversations with other agents now? Should they explore what schools are available and what the costs are? Walk me through the logical steps for somebody that wants to do that.
So in my opinion, you should start with the conversations. There are over 5,200 realtors in Brevard County. If you are thinking of becoming one, there are plenty for you to talk to. You probably know 3. So start with the conversations first, and those conversations will help you determine what to expect when you start getting into the class, which class you should go to, what would work best for you, which brokerages you should interview with, what might work best for your needs. So I say have the conversations first. And it's good practice for when you're licensed because you're going to keep having conversations for the rest of your career. That's how this business is built. That's right.
That's right. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you about learning about your school or joining Arium or any of those things, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch with you? Would it be online, email, phone call?
It could be, I answer text, probably the fastest. Okay. So text, email, phone call. Can I give my phone number? Is that
Please, okay? Yes, share that.
My phone number is 401-692-9082. It's 401-692-9082. And texting, like I said, is first. You can give a call as well. I'm happy to talk. My email is leonor@ariumrealestate.com, Leonor @ariumrealestate.com. And I'm also on Facebook. It's my personal page, Leonor Guerrero Kryla. And so I am happy to talk to anybody who's got questions. I love this business. So to me, it's my hobby. It's my profession. I could talk about it all day.
Awesome. Awesome. So we ask all of our guests one last question at the end, and that is, if you had to pick just one thing that you love about living or working on the Space Coast, what would that thing be for you?
If I had to pick one thing, I would say it's got a small town feel, but it is a larger populated area, and it's close enough if you really want to be in a big area. It's close enough to Orlando, Miami. So I love the feel of it, that it's got the small town, but it's really not. That's awesome. I agree 100%. All right, Leonor, I really appreciate your time coming on today and telling us all about
how to become a real estate agent, some of the ups, the downs, and things that people need to work through. And I want to have you back on again soon.
Oh, thank you. I'd be happy to come back.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.